"Sorry, we're closed," takes what we know as survival horror and spins it into a creepy yarn that honestly hit me in a way no other game could. We start this fable with a couple at the end of their relationship. Oh wait, sorry, no. This was a TV show that our protag Michelle was watching before being interrupted by this streak of baby diarrhea called Daryl, who is yammering on about his boyfriend who just turned down his hand in marriage. And considering his rudeness, I'm not surprised. Yep, it seems like our avatar is just a regular Jane, working a shift at a dead-end job while it feels like life is passing her by. Basically, Michelle is a stylish version of Dante Hicks. Ooh, hold up. Yes, nice. Okay, you probably heard this tune before because I've used it in many of my videos, but hey, the soundtrack as a whole is filled with trip-hoppy goodness, and it's, me likey. Anyway, just like anyone who works in retail, Michelle's off to her room to pass out, and just look at it. Sure, it's a bit messy, but all this junk tells you about the character in such a nice way. Also, her reaction to the spank mag on a bedside table made me chuckle. So yeah, as you can tell, our lead is kind of a lost if horny soul, who is still reeling from being dumped 3 years ago by her girlfriend. During her slumber, she is accosted by a demon called the Duchess, but instead of the usual eternal damnation, she offers her eternal love, which of course our avatar says nah, because this is set in London, and because us tea drinkers talk like that, innit. Anyway, just like a creep that can't take rejection, the Duchess curses our lead to neg her into a situationship, or be turned into a monster. And I thought Tinder was bad. Once we get past the next section, involving a being made of Marmite, Shelley gets back to the grind, and finds out the Duchess has given her a third eye, which gives her the ability to see ghosts. Woo! And yeah, Sorry We're Closed is more of a slice-of-life RPG than you would expect from a survival horror game. And I have to say, bumming around here chatting to the locals feels nice. After meeting up with her pal Robin, they end up in the tube station, and of course, just like another horror game with rusty aesthetics, Sorry We're Closed is aping that style. More on that in a bit. And they find out there is another damn person who has been cursed by the Duchess, who is desperately trying to fill the hole in her heart with cash. Also, we find out that Robin is a demon, who is helping Michelle in her quest to break this curse. We also learn that her third eye can be used to get past demonic traps. And I love that you can see the real world poking through all the grit and grime. It's a nice touch. And now we can talk about the gameplay. Sorry We're Closed is a camera angles survival horror game. And while I love me some Dutch tilts, here they feel a bit fucky. I do like when you aim your weapon, the game flips into first person, a la Killer 7, or Resident Evil Dead Aim, or my sicko pick, D2, but these normal camera angles, I get what they're trying to do. They've done them this way to make you feel claustrophobic and all that shit, but most of the views we get here are annoying, and don't really add anything apart from appreciating the finely textured floor. And I get why they didn't go for a third-person over-the-shoulder camera, because every bloody survival horror game has that now, but there is a certain art when it comes to fixed or on-the-rail camera systems in these types of games, which in my opinion is missing here. Yeah, it works on occasion, but nearly every frame in the first level is angled this way. It's a bit much. Also, the combat I found a bit clunky at first, especially with the default controls. Granted, since the game came out, the devs at Alamo Games have been tweaking this with added options to make it smoother, and now I'm thinking about it, the combat is like a more involved version of the battle system from Parasite Eve, where you use the third eye to expose the weak spots of your foes, and with every subsequent shot on these spots, you build this meter that spawns a weapon called the Heartbreaker, which is basically your fuck you button that takes out most nasties in a single stroke. So while it took me a bit to find the groove of the combat, once I did, it felt okay. But still it lacks a certain oomph. Which brings us to a boss fight, where we use all these mechanics we just learned. Also, that woman from earlier, yeah, this was her fate. And who said love can't buy you happiness? After this boondoggle, we end up at a creepy hotel, hosted by our hostess. And yep, our chainsaw-wielding suitor has a gaudy end-of-the-pier Blackpool B&B as her side hustle. She seems like a keeper. And Michelle finds out that one of her buddies is also an angel, but just like the characters in this game, the concept of heaven and hell defines binary. I like that. Also, she wants you to overthrow Daryl, who as it turns out, is in the Duchy's prison pocket. Go figure. And here you can also buy upgrades for Michelle, which would be interesting, but a 20% damage upgrade doesn't matter if you play the game as intended, so it feels like a waste. Actually, this hybrid of a survival horror and an RPG feel at odds with each other at times, because one side you are engaging with the story, with the sublime writing that caught me off guard quite a few times, with its biting wit and heart, but that is butting up against the ho-hum urbexing of the other. You can tell that the devs were inspired by Persona and its ilk, but unlike those games, it doesn't meld these systems together, meaning investing in a relationship outside of the spooky stuff gives you no benefit in the spooky stuff, which as I just mentioned, could have probably done with a few sharper edges. Now I can imagine this was something they wanted to implement, but considering Alamo Games is a team made of predominantly 2 people, yeah, I can imagine it was a lot of work. However, on this RPG side, you do get the opportunity to make choices that will impact the story, such as Two-Headed Lucy here. You know, the cool girl on the save screen? Yeah, her. But here she wants Michelle to join her in a plot to overthrow the Duchess, and if she agrees, she will do some cosmic fuckery that will cock up her ex's career, so she will come back to her. And while I get it, having weird thoughts during those desperate nights of the soul, but fuck that word packet of prawn cocktail crisps. Granted, most of these choices are not as cynical, but they did add some narrative spice, and also some replayability. And honestly, I don't want to give you a beat-for-beat rendition of the story, but as you can see from this snippet, there is a ton of stuff to chew on. And the survival horror side does get better from a level design standpoint, like running around an abandoned aquarium is quite inspired, especially with how it twists some of its whimsical stuff into these ghoulish designs. But, and this is a Cthulhu-sized but, I'm kinda tired of Silent Hill inspired stuff. Not saying it's bad, but I feel like a lot of creators who were inspired by that series just think that rundown metalwork equals creepy, and honestly it's starting to make my eyes roll. And that feels horrible to say because I love the look of this game, but these environments quickly blended into my brain. Once again, this could be a budget thing. You gotta work with what you got, right? But for all the swagger and opulence of the talky parts, these levels just come off as bland, and ironically, when you activate the third eye and see the quote real world, it looks to me far more interesting. So this effort to make basically 2 sets of assets screams like a ton of work for not much purpose. Okay, I'm playing armchair dev here, but this reeks of overthought design. And just like the camera angles, I get the impression that the creators struggled to pick a lane in these aspects, and while doing both is ambitious, they've not been given equal time to cook. But then this is the first game by the studio, so I can get why they're trying to reach for the stars, and being someone who has a billion ideas all at the same time myself, I get it. And I feel like I'm bagging on this thing, which no I'm not. I can see what they're going for, but like the combat, it's missing that piece, that added sauce to bring it all together. And while I mull over that, I will say the boss fight tracks by Okamura, who also did the song for the trailer, are so fucking talented. Even when I was gritting my teeth because our lead has a running speed of a turtle with a Super Nintendo stuck in their ass, Okamura's flows and beats definitely took the sting out of that. Actually, one half of the group, Michelle, just dropped her latest solo project, and it's so much fun. Back to the game, especially its themes, while it's half-baked in terms of horror, what gripped me was Michelle. Side note, when this game was coming out, I was so excited. Hell, in my indie survival horror video, I gushed about the demo, which turned into Alamo Games sending me a review code, which was quite flattering. Yeah, big imposter syndrome. But when I finally played it, this is the level where I dropped it. Yeah, the story and queer vibes were fun, but the survival horror part, the bit I was here for, left me cold. But, I don't know, just like everything in life, sometimes a drop of perspective is all it takes to see things in a new light. And I've been on a journey in the last couple of years. Not only did I experience a breakup, just like our protag, I also came to the realization that the gender I was assigned at birth may not be the one that's fully me. Basically, I'm non-binary. Now, to me, this isn't a big deal. I already knew from a young age that my sexuality and gender identity wasn't what the norms call normal. Now, I am aware of my privilege, so me coming out as such should be taken at face value, but just like the themes within this game, the struggle Michelle goes through hit me harder than some crappy jump scare. Not to spoil anything, because I want you to give this game a go, but its queerness and its deep dive into love and the double-edged sword of what it does to us is fucking beautiful. I've never felt so attached to a character and world before, and while that sounds weird, and perhaps a tad cringe, coming from a he-they in their fucking 40s, her heartbreak and journey to heal and grow, as a person, was kind of the thing I needed right now. Granted, I haven't been hunting cursed peeps to find the power to take out a creature beyond my comprehension, but I have been putting the reps to better myself, and just like our avatar, by the end of the story, I feel like I've leveled up. And yeah, while the pain of losing someone close to you will ache, even long after they're gone, but it's a pain that changes you for the better, and in the end, the only person that can make you happy in this world is the sexy fucker looking at you in the mirror. Yeah, the metaphors may be getting a bit muddled here, but for what the game lacks, it makes up in vibes, characters, and its sheer force of personality alone. The world just bounces off the screen, its sense of style unmatched, and even with my gripes, it's a world I would love to see more. If this is the open shot across the balls, please Alamo Games, fire again. So yeah, that's my view on Sorry We're Closed. Now go away.